Anybody familiar with any of my videos or my writings will have encountered several times the term secular paganism, but I have done little to nothing to really define what I mean by secular paganism. I came up with the term secular paganism as a way to describe my personal views of life, my personal spiritual pursuit, but realistically it has become an all-encompassing idea for my overall ideology, how I approach mythology, how I approach history, and specifically the studies of ancient European paganism. Um, Realistically, if we take an approach that was laid out by Ludwig von Wittgenstein, we can really break down in rapid time without a lot of discourse and a lot of conversation what I mean by the term secular paganism. Ludwig von Wittgenstein says that language is a tool. So when I use the words paganism and secularism, what I'm really doing is taking two tools and I'm combining them for a new job, a new approach, so to speak. And Wittgenstein also said that language is a game, and all of our miscomprehensions or misunderstandings or misinterpretations of other people talking comes solely from not so much the words being wrong, but not understanding the game in which they are playing. So, to understand what I mean by secular paganism, we first need to understand what game I'm playing. And realistically, it originated as a personal game, something that meant something to me, because people would ask me my religious views, which I think is personally a rude question to ask anybody. But people would ask me my views, and in trying to explain things, I only created more dissonance. I only created a deeper misunderstanding. So I came up with the idea of secular paganism. People would say, "So you're an atheist?" No, no, I'm not an atheist per se. So you're an agnostic? Yes and no, absolutely, but absolutely not at the same time. It just became so riddled and convoluted that it just became easier to say I'm a secular pagan or a pagan with secular ideology. First and foremost, what I've tried to do is revitalize a very ancient and old pagan ideology. Um, if we break down the two words and really look at their definition, we can find really quickly what my idea of secular paganism is. Paganism, of course, is a very broad and far reaching term and definition. The word pagan differs from pagan group to pagan group to pagan group, but it also differs from Christians to pagan, from historians to mythologists. So pagan in itself really says nothing at all, but when I refer to paganism, what I'm most notably referring to is the paganism that my personal ancestors would have practiced. Paganism in its oldest form in mainland Europe, the paganism which Joseph Campbell thought might have stemmed even from the Neanderthals. And of course, all this is hearsay to a large degree. A lot of it is just simply speculation, but nonetheless, that is what I'm referring to when I say paganism. When I say paganism, I'm talking about elemental forces that are symbolized by gods and goddesses. I am talking about a network of deities, nothing to do with monotheism. When I'm talking about paganism, I'm talking specifically about polytheism, the belief and the idea of multiple gods and goddesses. Now, these come into play in a significant role in just a minute. Whenever I'm discussing secularism, what I am talking about there is a more of a scientific approach. A good friend of mine, John Brazaitis, had taught me from his own personal spiritual standpoint, so I don't take this in the lightest way at all, that the ancient pagans had no differentiation between what was secular and sacred. This was not an idea that existed in the ancient world. This was very much a Christian concept. The Christian movement said that this is the secular world, this is the sacred world, and in that way they could control the sacred ideology. They would say that this is God, this is the idea of gods, and this is the sacred place. These are the sacred acts. Paganism did not have that. Everything to a degree to the pagan world was sacred. There was no such thing as mundane, in other words. But given the fact that we have lived under 2,000 years of Christian ideology and our entire Western civilization is sculpted around the concepts of Christianity, it's hard to discard and get rid of the word secular. So my idea was, how can I best use and utilize the word secular? This came into play because my views are very much agnostic. I take a lot of atheistic approaches because science has left a very limited room for a deity or God to exist in the ways that we typically view or understand God from a Christian or monotheistic concept. So I have discarded all of that and I've taken a scientific approach. So when I say the word secular paganism, what I'm actually saying is a pagan idea that fits into the realms of secular day-to-day mundane life. The symbols in paganism are now scientifically verifiable. They're now scientifically logical. They're no longer mystified or misconstrued in some new age concepts. Whenever I say secular paganism, I'm taking the idea of the sacred and I am applying it in a scientific manner. To me, this is what the new religion of the new world should look like. It should be very much something that coincides with logic and reason. It shouldn't be like Christianity that defies logic and reason. It should be something that could be coupled with our scientific progress. And I think the ideas of secular paganism, taking the ideas of science and applying them to the symbolic ideology of paganism, this can bridge the idea between intellect and spirituality, and this is how I use and have construed the term secular paganism.